with it. So, good morning. The reason I chose Happiness Happens is because there's this organization called they used to be called the Secret Society of Happy People. And then about 20 years ago, they began this, and they deemed August Happiness Happens Month. And I thought, what a fun way to designate some consciousness towards happiness, to just mindfully go out there and create it, go out there and look for it. Because the truth is, whatever we go looking for, we find. Have you noticed? If you wake up and you're like, it's going to rain today, it's humid, it's hot, it's going to be a terrible day. Turns out that way. We have a way of finding our way into that complaint zone, right? And you ever stand in line at the grocery store and notice what people talk about? Usually it's whatever they're unhappy about. Can you believe the cost of bananas? I mean, now I don't know. I haven't really paid attention. If I want bananas, I just buy them. So I never know what to do with those conversations. So I'm like, it's a good banana, But we do that. We're like, it's too hot outside. So we turn the air condition so low that we all need sweaters inside. And then it gets cold outside and we turn the heat up so high that we're all walking around in our bathing suits at home, right? We just have this way of throwing it off balance a little bit. But the power of this month is will, which I thought was just perfect. Because if we think about it, we really are creating our own experience. And will is the ability to choose, to decide, to command, to lead, and determine. So just take a moment to think. How have you been using your will lately? How do you direct your energy? Are you drawn more into those lines of this, in the grocery where they're complaining, or to the people that are like, isn't this a great day? Did you see these beautiful strawberries? I mean, and it's such a simple example at the grocery store, but it's one I think we can all relate to. Here's the biggest catch, though, always, is as we search for peace, love, happiness, whatever it is, outside of ourselves, we tend to fall short. When we're going outside and expecting other people to create our happiness for us, we set ourselves up sometimes to let us down. If we rely on others to provide it, it can be hard to hold on to. So what I want to talk about today is that the fact that the key to happiness is inside of us. Even in the Golden Key, Emmett Fox talks about if ever you have a negative thought or negative situations going on, turn your attention to God. And that can be beautiful in a perfect world. But of course, if something just happened, and it could be the simplest thing, you just stubbed your toe in the middle of the night, or whatever it is, you're probably not thinking, I am a divine child of God and all is in perfect order. That's probably not what's in your mind at the moment or coming out your mouth. But the truth is, in any moment, and you turn your attention to God, what does that look like? Because a lot of the things we teach and a lot of the beautiful writings we read, the scriptures, they sound lovely. And we're in the midst of that challenging moment. We're like, that is not how it feels right now. But what Emmett Fox is saying is if you can turn your attention to good, and that sometimes is a little bit easier. And I say, if you can assign a few things that bring you joy in advance, just a few thoughts. And if you know that every time you think about that one Christmas or that favorite dessert or whatever it is, you don't need to remember how it makes you feel. But if you're really struggling and you can turn your attention to that in just 10 seconds of thinking about it, what it does is it realigns you. It brings you back. If it really brings a smile to your face, it's bringing you back to that place of joy, that place of happiness, that place which is God. And from that place, once you're centered and grounded, you can then respond to whatever it is rather than react. You can come from that spiritual place within. So happiness it's not an outer achievement. It's not a destination to get to at the end of the road. It's really a choice we have, an inner potential right here, right now, always, that we get to choose. It's an energy which must be expressed at the beginning and throughout the journey. Joy isn't something we should try to get out of our work, but something we put into our work. We bring that. Think of it like a potluck. What are you bringing to the table? Are you bringing that essence of the good, the God, the presence? Or are you bringing the complaints and everything that's wrong? And we all do it sometimes, and we all know the person who does it more often than sometimes, right? This isn't a time to judge you or another person. It's simply a time to remember that we have a choice. I wanted to look up in the dictionary. I thought this was fascinating. It said The root of the word happiness is the same as the word happen. That just fit this topic so well. I was like, what a quinky dink. But think about it, it happens. And the thing is, if we can stir up that inner spark and let it shine, but we have to remember what Jesus said. Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within. Start every morning resolving to let that kingdom come through you. When's the last time you started your morning with if you're happy and you know it? Does anyone do that regularly? I mean, it would make you giggle, wouldn't it? And truly, how do you start? Do you start by, I gotta get up again, snooze, I don't want to do whatever it is, go to work or whatnot? Or do you wake up in the morning and say, the sun is shining, thank God for another day? Because it makes a difference. It really does. It sounds so simple. And happiness was one of those words that people roll their eyes at sometimes. I've actually been criticized for being too happy before. And I'm like, that is like the best criticism I've ever received. I would rather be told I'm too happy too often than, I'm a chronic complainer, But it's still a choice. And like I said, that, part of the don't worry, be happy that really brought to mind was Byron Katie in the work. Just you don't have to love, her book is Loving, one of her first books is Loving What Is. That doesn't mean if something's going terribly wrong that you love the situation. But it's about being in wherever you're at, standing right in the presence, in this now moment, which can be hard because if there's something going wrong, we are such good storytellers. Our minds start unraveling all the possibilities of how it could get worse. But what if for just a moment we paused and said, what if things get better? What if things go my way? It would be a whole different experience. And of course, Byron Katie teaches us to check in with our thoughts and how are we in our story. And she kind of teaches us to bring it back. But it's really about just noticing and being present. I'd like to read you a little blurb from Eric Butterworth. He said, happiness is much more than the ecstasy that follows experiences of success, harmony, health, and peace. True happiness is that spirit that enables one to retain inner peace in spite of troubles around them. It is the wings of life. We have thought of happiness as the result of certain conditions or experiences, and we expect to be happy when this or that happens. But he goes on to say that actually no one and no thing can make you happy. And yet, anyone or anything can provide an excellent opportunity to release the flow of joy or to hide under a bushel, so to speak. He says, in every case, we are about as happy as we make up our minds to be, and it has little to do with circumstances. He says, remember that nothing has the power to give you happiness, but anything can be an incentive to release the happiness force from within yourself. We are dealing with attitudes that can be conditioned by mental discipline. Resolve to put you into everything you do. Do not resist things or try to find joy in experiences. Flow with the continuity of life's happenings and put joy and enthusiasm into the adventure of living. Now again, so often we read these things and they're beautiful. They sound perfect in a perfect world. And then we go home, we leave these walls and we turn on the news, or we get that phone call with whatever bad news it may seem to be, or we go home to face, whatever challenge may be awaiting us. And it's in that moment, it can be hard to say, well, how am I supposed to be happy here? I keep pumping my bracelet. Let's take that off. I don't know if you guys hear it, but I was hearing it. So just really think about the places where it may be hard to find that joy. And it could be a physical ailment, maybe an aching knee and you're going up the stairs. I'm like, how am I supposed to be happy about this? It hurts every step I take, right? It can be so many things. It can be, any parents in the room. Certainly you've had moments where you were worried about, your child's choices. And that can put you in a state where you're not finding happiness there. There's many opportunities, but the truth is it's all included. In Proverbs 15:13 through 15, it says, a glad heart makes a cheerful face, but by sorrow of heart the spirit is crushed. The heart of him who has understanding seeks knowledge, but the mouths of fools feed on folly. All the days of the afflicted are evil, but the cheerful of heart has a continual feast. So what does that mean? That's a lot of words, and we can pick it apart with what we interpret, but these proverbs focus on the heart. A cheerful face indicates a positive attitude towards life. And again, that's not to be naive in saying that everything is perfect. But this comes about when an inner self is healthy. And that's one of the keys for me is doing my inner work. You're here, you're doing some spiritual work, but when you leave these walls, when you leave this building on Sunday, are you doing your work at home? Where is your level of self-care? How are you tending to your needs, to your emotions? How are you facing the grief or the hardship or whatever those things were that you brought to mind where you may find it hard to be happy? About this, a little more about the scripture, it says such a person has an inner joy all the time, but circumstances, whether internal or external, can rob a person of tranquility. The key to gaining a joyful heart is in seeking knowledge. And that's from the Fillmore Study Bible. So when we look at knowledge, there's so many different ways to look at that. Knowledge in a situation for me is remembering these teachings, these truth principles that we talk about each Sunday and in our different classes. One, as I mentioned already, we create our experiences, but also just the simple idea that God is everywhere present, that God is good, omniscient. If God is right where you are, if God is right where that person is that you've been praying for or worrying about, if God is in the midst of everything we see on the news, then can we find a way to rest in that just a little bit? It doesn't mean we may not have actions to take to contribute, but if God is everywhere present, including within you, can we just rest a little bit in the comfort of that, find a little bit of peace in that knowing? And we can go deeper with our teachings, but just that one right there. When you are in the midst of worry, I heard Michael Beckwith once say that worry is like praying for the worst possible outcome. And whoa, if our thoughts are prayers, our words are prayers. If our thoughts, our words, our actions are creating our experience, then when we're spiraling in a state of worry or anger or frustration, then we've kind of nudged God out of the situation in our own mind in that moment. Of course, we can never nudge God out truly. But when we forget, it's easy to get off track. I saw a sign on a church billboard over the weekend that said, "A grudge is a heavy thing to carry." Wow, think about the backpack you're carrying around and what's in it. We all have these toolboxes that we carry around, and most of the time we forget to use the tools that serve us. But we also tend to weigh ourselves down with things like grudge and unforgiveness. And that can become so heavy that it's hard to remember that there is joy and happiness and peace and love included. So what are you carrying around? I'd really like to invite you to just think about your metaphorical backpack, if you will. Is there someone you're still angry about? Maybe someone from a decade ago even. And I mean, we can laugh, but we all have that one person that pops in our head that's like, if I saw them again today, I know what I'd say this time around, right? Or maybe it's a job, an employer. Maybe it's, some force out in the world, whatever it is. We could probably all collectively come up with the same ones even. Maybe not the same names, but the family member or the leader or the whatever it is, right? The neighbor. I'm so blessed by neighbors now, but I've had that difficult neighbor in my past. Oh, that one was hard to let go of. But how long do you carry it? Do you leave your job at the end of the day and go home and then spend the next 2 hours telling your family about the coworker that drives you nuts? Or do you have a poor experience at a restaurant and then spend the next week telling everyone what went wrong with it? Because the past no longer exists, even if it happened 5 minutes ago, unless you carry it forth through your thoughts and your words. So if there's something that is pulling you down, even if you're just noticing, yeah, I'm kind of cranky today, check in. What are you thinking about? Where's your mindset? Because it happens unconsciously, I think. We've all had thoughts in our heads that we're like, where did that even come from? We may not even believe it. In fact, we have belief systems that we're holding on to and carrying with us that we may not even believe. Think about some of the stories you were told, the lines when you were little. Nothing good comes easy, or nothing good is free in life. It takes hard work. Money doesn't grow on trees. All these different things. And then it can affect you going forward, even if you don't believe that anymore. A week ago, I taught a prosperity class, and somebody brought up the money doesn't grow on trees. And someone else, before I even said anything, said, well, actually, they grow fruit, and you make paper from them, and from paper comes books. I'm like, and furniture comes from trees. I'm like, I guess money does kind of grow on trees, right? Depends on how you look at it. But what are your belief systems that you're carrying around that are robbing you of your joy? We've heard, people say, don't let anyone steal your joy. And that, again, it can be hard. If it could be many people. I mean, you can turn on the news. It doesn't have to be someone you know, or you can go to a family reunion. Most of us have at least one family member that might rub us a little bit the wrong way. But have you ever noticed in those situations, and let's think a family reunion, for example, this one's rubbing you the wrong way, but there's all these that are available with hugs and joy and memories, and we're so hung up on that one person that we think should be doing something different that we miss out. So who's really robbing us of that? To keep happy, we must really allow ourselves to notice first and to be in the present. This was one of the greatest teachings of Jesus. He said, except ye turn and become like a little child, you shall in no wise enter the kingdom of heaven. There is no other way. He who, like a child, lives adventurously from moment to moment and from day to day, experiencing the spontaneous flow of life, is the only one to know true happiness. There's a famous psychologist, I may be saying this wrong, Piaget, who wrote that the only normal mind is the child's mind. He might have added that the only way to happiness is the child's way because the child uses his mind properly. Imagination is the forefront of all natural thinking. But let's think for a minute. I mean, we just talked about some of the ways we think and the ways we block out. Think about a child. Have you ever noticed that it doesn't matter what the situation is, sitting in a doctor's office waiting to be called, and most adults are sitting getting impatient, and a child's like, ooh, what can I find? And usually they're being told to don't touch that and get out of there. But they're like, oh, but there's an adventure and here's something to look at. Here, when I found a pencil, this could be a rocket ship, right? Children have a way of being so present in the moment that they're able to just love life. That's why I love working with the kids so much. We can have fun. If you can hand us a spoon and we can make a whole game out of it. There's not a limit there, including to their prayers and their beliefs for what's possible. Children don't pause to wonder how. The World Day of Prayer is coming up in less than a month now, and I remember the first year that I was the youth director at Unity of Royal Oak, and I wanted the kids to be active in it. But it's the beginning of school, it's on a Thursday night, it's kind of late, it's not the best time to have them out, they need to be getting ready for bed and back in the swing of things. I thought, what can I do so that they can be a part of this service? And so I asked the kids to write out their prayers. We made this big poster board. And if any were private, we put them into the prayer box for Silent Unity. But the ones they were willing to share, we made this big poster board. And it was so fabulous because without any instruction or suggestions from me, they had things like cure cancer, that no one goes hungry, that everyone has a friend. And yes, that we pass our math test too, right? But how many people we could wish for world peace and cures for cancer and curing, hunger. But most adults go, I don't even know how that'd be possible. And the kids had no doubt that once we put it out there, God's got it. And it's from that place. And we could say innocence, but I would say it's just that they haven't forgotten yet or been taught differently yet. From that place, they have this unlimited scope of what's truly possible if we trust God in the situation. And we can will it, and that's what this is about. This power of our month is a power of will to direct our thoughts, our attention, our actions, right? To be able to be a part of those solutions and a part of those outcomes. But we must start with our own thinking and our own belief system. And so if we think that it's not possible, then aren't we limiting God in that? Aren't we limiting God in a situation that says, well, if I can't see how it's possible, how can you? And that can certainly rob us of our happiness, can't it? I mean, like, if we try to take on the burden of it's all us, but if God is within each person, every person in the world, yes, even the ones you can't see it in, even there, that anything's possible if we allow that inner spirit to work within us. So imagination, think for a moment, picture a moment in your life where you felt truly happy. It could be a simple moment or a big moment. Just bring a moment to mind. Do you have one? Just one moment where you really felt happy? In that moment, whatever one it was that you brought to mind, were there also things that were going maybe not so great in the world, even in that moment? Even then? Was there also maybe something out there that you wish were different, but in that moment you felt happiness? You see, because it's all included. But it starts here. If we require things to be different outside of us, then we're now trying to control things that aren't ours to control. But let's go back to that heart space. I wanted to look up in the revealing word. Remember that scripture, Proverbs, was all about the heart. And I wanted to look at what Charles Fillmore said about the metaphysical meaning of the heart. He said, the heart is love, the affectional consciousness in man. It is the faculty through which man receives love from being. The heart, however, is but the visible expression of an invisible center of consciousness. It is the center from which the divine substance is poured forth. Everyone uses his heart center when he sends forth a loving thought. No matter what teaching we go to, no matter which unity teacher or minister we read about, it all comes back to consciousness. Which means we have to really own it and be responsible. But I don't think we can do that until we notice and until we're willing. Charles and Myrtle, they viewed happiness as an inherent birthright, a natural state of being that can be accessed through spiritual understanding and a conscious choice. So you come here, and many of you have been coming here a long time. So I think we have the spiritual understanding of how it works. We just have to remember to choose it. And that means often. I don't think it's a one and done. We can't say, you know what, I have forgiven everyone and I never have to do it again. I am choosing happy in this moment and I never have to choose it again. I mean, that is naive, right? Because there's going to be things that come up. There's going to be new things to forgive, new people and situations. But the Fillmores taught that joy and contentment were inherent qualities of the human soul. They were given to us and it's inside of us to choose and to express. So what are your gifts? What are the ways in which you express your joy? That's what I want you to look at, something we can take out into the world. Here's a couple of the other key points about what the Fillmores taught about this happiness business. It's a divine right, but the next step is mindset matters. They emphasize the power of thought in creating happiness. Power, of course, we use positive affirmations, denials. Our mental focus was seen as an essential tool by the Fillmores for cultivating joy. They also said spiritual connection was key. A deep connection with a higher power was considered fundamental to lasting happiness. Outside of here, how do you connect that spiritual essence that is not only within us but all around us? And then practical living, and that's always my goal. There are a lot of beautiful words and things I could read to you, but for me, if we don't have something to take away and do with, then it's just a book of poetry, right? So I'd like today to think about an action we can take as long as we read here. And I love poetry, by the way, right? But I want to be able to do something with it. The Fillmore said, while spiritual growth was central, they also valued practical steps like gratitude, service to others, and physical well-being as contributors to happiness. Essentially, happiness for the Fillmores was not merely a fleeting emotion, but a conscious state of being rooted in spiritual awareness and practical application. So I'd like to read to you an excerpt from a book written by Paul Hasselbeck, a Unity minister and teacher. You may be familiar with him from Heartfelt Metaphysics. But this is a book he wrote called Point of Power. And it really is addressing what do we do with these gifts, or how do we bring them up? How do we even know what they are? So this was something that came to him, which makes it beautiful for me. And the book is beautiful. It's a lot longer, this excerpt, than this is. But he was asking in prayer, what is his to do? What is he supposed to do with what's within him and with a situation that he had been faced with, a pretty hard situation? And he woke up in the middle of the night and had to get up out of bed and start writing. And this was part of what came to him. My dear one, the call to awaken is everywhere. It is in all things, waiting patiently to be seen. I placed it there so that you could not fail to see me wherever you looked. All things are lessons God would have you learn, because the spark of God's reality is contained within everything. What you see is determined by what you want to see. Is it not obvious by now that I am in everything to see? Just set your sights on me and I will spring to your awareness. You cannot but see me in all that you do and say when your goal is eternal peace, because eternal peace is all around and through you. The call to awaken is present. Present, my dear one. I am here. I am here. I am here and everywhere. I am calling you from your reality to return to your reality. I am gently awaiting your change of mind. My dear one, all of my gifts are yours just for this tiny decision. The decision to see me everywhere and in everything. If you feel peace, joy, and happiness, you have heard the call to awaken. If you feel peace, joy, and happiness, you have heard the call to awaken, but you only need to remember me, for me to be remembered by everyone. Only you need remember me to awaken me in everyone. Just one. That's all it takes, my dear one. All the corrections you see you want to make out there are just a mere reflection of the true change you wish to make inside. Each time you perceive something you wish to change, let that be a reminder that you really want to change your mind. So take that in for just a moment. The thought, whatever it is out there that you wish to change, how can you be the answer or a step in the direction of that change? We cannot change others, but we can change ourselves in the ways in which we perceive others and react to others, other people, other situations. So in a time when it may feel like there's a challenge in your life, in your personal life, or in the world, can you go within and find that still small space? That place where peace does reside in you. That place where you have the mental capacity to pause. There's great power in a pause. To meditate, to pray. And when you pray, can you do so, as Unity teaches, in an affirmative way, knowing that the answer is happening, maybe not in the way that you would design, right? We so often miss the answers to our prayers because they don't look the way we think they should. Sometimes they even look greater. But we're focused on a certain path and a certain way it should look, so we might miss it. But as you go into prayer, as you go into this place of affirming that God is within all situations, everywhere present, within all people, from that place, we can find that peace within. It says, I don't need to know the how. I don't need to know the way. I just need to be willing to be a conduit, to be guided, to be directed. To ask the question, what is mine to do? And sometimes to be willing to do nothing because that might be the answer. Sometimes the answer is just have faith, be still and know. Be still and know. When you're in worry, you've forgotten to be still and know. And it makes sense. There are things out in the world that cause us worry, that cause us grief, that cause us anxiety and depression. All of those are real. This is not to be in shame or judge yourself for any of that. Deepak Chopra said that healing is a return to memory of wholeness. Healing is a return to memory of wholeness. So in the midst of those moments when you can't find it, when you aren't feeling that joy or that happiness, can you come back to that place and will yourself to remember? The power of will isn't always about making something out there happen. In fact, usually it's not. Wouldn't it be great, though, if we ruled the world? I mean, we know what's right for everyone, don't we? I mean, any parents ever think that? I know best. And that's almost the quickest way to get your child to do the opposite, right? And we're like children as well. Sometimes when we're told what to do, we're like, I'm not going to do that even if I wanted to now. So the will is not about changing out there. It's about willing ourselves to be in faith, to trust, to go in, to be responsible with our own thoughts, with our own actions, our own words. How are you using your words? When you're talking to others, are you talking about what's good, what's possible? Are you sharing faith? Are you sharing the happiness? Are you scattering that this happiness happens month? I mean, what a fun opportunity. How could you go out and make happiness happen? Or are you scattering fear and worry and complaints? And again, don't judge yourself if that's the case. We all get in those slumps now and then. But what if we said, hey, you know what, this week, I'm not going to gossip. I like to share a book called The Complaint-Free World by Will Bowen. And I shared this in a group at work. I had to present a tool to use. And Will Bowen has these purple bracelets that say Complaint-Free World. And he says, let's go 21 days without complaining. And if you complain, take it off this wrist, put it on this one, start at day one. And he talked about how it took him 6 months to get to 21 days. Because, day one, no complaints. Day two, oh, okay, back to day one. Day one, day two, back to one. Day one, day two, day three, back to one. Because it happens. It just happens. It's just about retraining ourselves to pivot, to return our attention to God, the golden key. It's as simple, but not always easy as that. So I'd like to take a moment just to breathe in this idea. And today I'd like to take us on a journey of our meditation, a way that I start most of my days. Sometimes I forget to. But if we are looking for the secret place in the Most High within ourselves, then we'll be able to see it better in others. So for me, it's about starting my day, not necessarily with if you're happy or you know it, but I really like that. And that made some of you smile, so maybe that's it. I have a great morning playlist. I may have to add that to it. But I start my day with kind of an active meditation. So I'm going to invite you to join me in this activity, and I'm going to guide you through a few steps. And this is something I do every day, usually in the morning, sometimes later in the day. But let's just begin by taking a deep breath and breathing in this possibility that right where we are, God is, and we can make happiness happen because it's already within us. God bless you. Right where you are, the light of God is because you are that light. You are the expression. So roll your neck, stretch your shoulders, shake off anything else that you brought with you, and just come into this present moment. This moment right here, right where you are, is a sacred space. Right where you are, God is. And the essence of God is yours to express. The light of God is yours to shine. So let's begin with 3 deep breaths. Just count of 4. Inhale. And exhale. And as you breathe in, allow yourself to notice the life that is filling your body. As you breathe in the air, it moves through every cell, through every part of your body, fueling you. And as you exhale, release any tension that you may still be holding on to. And one more time, a 3rd time. Breathe in that life energy. And release. Release everything that you can and then release the rest. You can pick it back up later if you need to. I invite you to welcome into your heart one thought, one vision of something that you can be so grateful for in this moment. It can be something big or something small, something recent, something you're grateful for today, or something from a long time ago. But allow yourself to feel it in this moment. Step into it as if you're there right now. Now bring to mind a second thing that you are so grateful for. Maybe a moment you are proud of. Or maybe a moment you were proud of someone else. Just a moment that brought you so much joy. Feel it as if it's happening right now. Maybe it brings a smile to your face or a sweet memory to mind. Now bring to mind a third moment that you could be so grateful for. Maybe a moment of love or a moment of laughter. But a third moment, big or small, something you are so grateful for. Something that made you feel happy, joyous. Take the next few seconds to allow any other thoughts of gratitude come to your mind. Bring them into your heart. Anything else that's brought you joy, love, happiness, just bring it into your heart and remember it in this moment. Allow it to lift you up. And now from this space, I invite you to imagine a bright light, light of spirit, healing light coming down through the top of your head, bringing with it a healing energy through your mind, your memories, your body, through the back of your neck, your back, your hips, your legs, down into the ground, into the earth. And bring that bright healing light back up through the bottom of your feet, up through your legs, your knees, through your belly, your arms, your shoulders, up through the top of your head, into the universe, connecting you to all that is. Now one more time, bring that bright light, that essence of spirit, and allow it to move through the top of your head, down through your body, into the ground. Remembering that God is a part of every cell, every bone, every muscle in your body. Bring that bright healing light up through the bottom of your feet, through your body, through the top of your head, and into the sky, connecting you again to all that is. And this time, bring that bright light through the top of your head into your heart. And this time we're going to send it out to our loved ones, our friends, our family. And again, send it out a little bit further to our neighborhood, our spiritual community. Not just our neighbors, but beyond, into the neighborhoods around us. And one more time, send that bright light, healing energy out to the world, out to the furthest corner, to the places where maybe it's been forgotten. And see each person, everywhere, filled with this light of God, remembering that right where they are, love is, peace is, God is. And we can hold that space for them even when they can't see it themselves. Now bring that loving light back into your heart and feel it, embrace it, allow it to wrap you in its arms. Now, the third thing we're going to do, we are going to bring to mind 3 goals or 3 prayers, 3 outcomes that we're hoping for. And the first one, whatever it is, an outcome you're working towards or something you're hoping for, see it as done. We've prayed for it, we've set the intentions, we've taken the steps that are ours to take. Picture what it will look like and what it will feel like once it is done, what has happened. You are celebrating it. Now bring to mind a second outcome that you are hoping for, praying for, working towards. And picture what it'll feel like. Feel it in your heart. Once you've gotten there, once you've seen the outcome, and maybe it's even greater than you had hoped for. And now a third third outcome that you are hoping for, praying for, working towards. Bring it into your heart. See it as done. Give gratitude for it in this moment, right now. The way has been made and you have gotten there. And you are celebrating this outcome. Thanking God for guiding your steps. Allow all of this to stack up in your heart, the gratitude, the prayers, the light of God moving through you, the outcomes that we've prayed for, and allow it to lift you up. Feel that presence right where you are right now, and affirm that all those we're holding in our heart, that God is right there too. Feel the joy, the energy, the faith, the peace. That's right where you are, that's within you, that you're holding in your heart. And store these moments, these memories, these visions in your heart so that you can return to them anytime you need to. Whenever you need to remember what is possible, we can turn to this place of peace, this place of faith, this place of gratitude. This place where we can remember our wholeness. And remember that right where we are, God is within us, moving in and through and as us. Right where we are, God is. Right where they are, God is. And there is no separation between here and there. So take with me one more deep breath. When you're ready, begin to bring your attention back to this space. This place where we remember what is true, what is whole, what is possible. And when you're ready, open your eyes and allow a thought to come to your mind of a way in which you can take this joy, this gratitude, this light out into the world.